Back, sports fans, to another episode of the 2315 Sports Show. We're on episode 28. A little disclaimer here, a couple weird things. I will not, nor Ethan, will be able to go the week this airs, which is the week of the 4th. So happy 4th to everybody. Also, these reactions and projections that we're doing for a couple of these segments, most of them haven't happened yet, so that could change with our episode as well. So just keep that in mind as you're listening. But this one, we're kind of covering things that me and Ethan do not usually cover at all. We might touch on the one we do not cover at all because we're just not very into it. Let's say. Um, so we're calling this kind of the Mandy takeover. My wife, she's big into NASCAR. We do watch it every Sunday, so I know what's going on at least. And then we're actually covering the WWE, which is a very popular show, obviously, or company, I guess you'd say. And they do have a pay-per-view event coming up the Saturday of after the 4th, so the 6th, July 6th. It's called Money in the Bank. So this one's kind of the Mandy takeover show, like I said. And I'll kind of just be asking questions and Mandy can answer because I'll fill in what I can. But again, not very educated on these. So 2 shows in a row that you're on. So
Two
there you
shows in a
go.
row.
All right. So why don't we start? Oh, let's say with the NASCAR stuff because I'm actually decently familiar with some of this or most of these people. So we kind of went over this a little earlier today. What our ideas of this were. Um, so the week we are airing, they're actually going to be in Nashville, I
Mhm.
believe. That's coming up this Sunday. We are actually recording the Friday before, but we're gonna kind of skip over that. So July 4th weekend, I guess you can call it. They're in Chicago, correct?
Yes, yeah, the road course.
Road course in downtown Chicago still.
Yes.
Um, so we had this event last year, and it was a flood event pretty much. So this year, hopefully, there's no rain in the forecast. First off, but I think the event went pretty good. I think it was very popular amongst the drivers and fans. Besides the rain, I mean, we can't control that, but I don't know. I don't know what the thoughts were on it, but I heard good reviews.
So I'm hoping this year, and I haven't looked at the weather, and it's going to change 19 times before we actually get there. Because, like you said, we're recording the Friday before it's going to happen. But I hope that this year there's not as much rain in the forecast, and then we get the true experience. Because last year it sounded really cool with all of
Mhm.
the lead up and like the concerts and the introductions and just all that, but all that ended up getting rained out, and then they were able to run the race, but it was a little manipulated with the rain tires, and then it was also shortened. So I really hope that this year we get the full event because I really enjoyed it last year. I thought it was pretty cool. We've been to Chicago
Mhm.
a lot of times, walked those same streets that they're racing on a lot of times, and so I
Yes.
really want to see like the full event. I really want to see like the full experience because I think it's a really cool addition and a really cool thought to their schedule to kind of like hype it up in the summer, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. I didn't know how it was gonna go. One, we haven't been to downtown Chicago on July 4th, obviously, but it is hectic. There's fireworks off Navy Pier. There's fireworks here, fireworks there. I mean, it's a busy city in the summer, especially around the July 4th weekend if it's nice. But it seemed to go off without a hitch. Obviously, it's back again this year, so it got popular views, I think. And last year, I think wasn't that the guy that doesn't even race NASCAR? Like he
Yes,
won.
Yep. And I get his initials mixed up all the time. I think it's SVG or SGV, one of the two.
Sure.
But he is not a NASCAR regular. They are hoping actually that he will be once his contract expires with his current racing circuit. But we don't know. That's obviously still another year or two in the head, I think. But he won and he showed out, and quite frankly, a lot of the guys who are used to running the road courses are going to be very good at this event just because it's designed for them. So I think that's why he
Sure.
won. Again, it was rain shortened, but he did an excellent job. Like he was way ahead of them.
And he drives like Moto GP or like he's not Formula One, he's not Indy, he's not like that, but he's the next cars that are down. He's like driving real cars. I say not. I mean, more real cars than what I think it's like Porsches, Mercedes,
Yeah. And it's
things
the
like that.
same like kind of concept with like the street races
Yeah,
as like the Formula 1 type, Indy type stuff.
yeah, yeah. So that's good. I wonder if he's coming back this year for it. That'd be kind of
I
cool if he
honestly
is.
don't know. I haven't looked.
Um, so going on from that, we're kind of gonna jump around here, I think, a little bit, but NASCAR's season as a whole, I guess you call it a season or a year, however you want to put it. We're halfway through, a little over halfway through, maybe.
Pretty close.
Um, who?
More than halfway for the chase itself. The whole
Oh,
season, we're
okay,
about halfway.
okay. So, well, speaking of the chase, which for people who don't know, that's their playoff part, and they call it the
Mhm.
playoffs now. 16 drivers get in.
16 drivers.
And you get in by one if you win throughout the year, you're automatically in. Or if not 16 drivers win, you lead in points, I'm guessing, if
Mhm.
that's how I remember it. Um, so who of the people in, or no, I'm sorry, of the names in NASCAR, who's in or who's not in that is usually like a big name in every year, I should say.
So there's quite a few drivers that aren't technically locked in. So Kyle
Sure.
Busch and Bubba Wallace are below the line, the cutoff line right now. I think they are like
Oh,
17th and 18th, so they're right below it. As far as drivers that are not locked in, these guys are in the chase points wise, but have not won to secure a spot. So they could be knocked out at any point in time if something goes wrong. And that's like Martin Truex Jr., Ross Chastain, Ty Gibbs, Alex Bowman, Joey Logano. So there's some pretty big names out there, including some former champions that are not technically locked in this thing and could definitely, if they have like a bad remaining season, could definitely be out of that. So I think that it surprises a lot of people, mostly that like a Kyle Busch or
hmm,
a Joey Logano and even like a Ross Chastain, Martin Truex Jr., that those guys aren't in because they typically are like your kind of constants. They're in quite often. I think Martin Truex missed it last year, but it was barely missing it. But those guys are usually pretty solid bets. So it's kind of surprising to a lot of people, I think, that those guys haven't locked in a spot yet or haven't won yet.
yeah, yeah. Those are some big names in there. One, I mean, the one that stands out the most, I think, is Kyle Busch. He's kind of
Mm.
very, I mean, he's unpopular in my opinion because I don't like him, but he's a very popular driver in NASCAR, very popular name. So that's kind of a huge name to be out. So the ones I think you listed most of them that are technically in. Um, who gets a win that within the next two, call it the next 2 weeks, either Nashville or Chicago of those guys you
Um,
said.
So I honestly think none of them win at Chicago.
Oh,
I'm going to pick a guy that's used to road courses. If and I don't even know if he's in, so I'm gonna do full disclaimer, but he's usually in road courses, so I'm going with him. I think AJ Allmendinger is gonna be in the running for a win at Chicago
Chicago.
because he always performs well at road courses. But I think honestly, and this may shock a lot of people, But with the way he's been running recently, I think Ty Gibbs out of that list may get his win first. He's had a solid year, has had a fast car all year. And so I think he could pull it off and win in Nashville.
I think I think him ever since he's come up, I think he's had a crazy like average of finishes that I mean, obviously he's only been up 2 years counting this year, I think, but I think he's in the top 10
Mhm.
average. Like you don't see him lower than that, which is very impressive. He's very young. Um, he's also the owner's grandson, which is kind of a lot of pressure as well. And he replaced one of the probably the biggest name in NASCAR in Kyle Busch. So that's big shoes to fill. So that's pretty impressive.
Mhm.
Of those drivers, I'd probably go with the Alex Bowman guy. I kind of like him. I think he'll get his next one. I think he'll get it this week in Nashville. Um, for the road course, I don't know. I'd go out on a limb and say Bubba's going to win it, just because it's in Chicago and that's a you know Michael Jordan car. So that would be kind of cool. Um, with that said, who's the most impressing driver this year out of the whole field um, in NASCAR, the main series?
I think it's William Byron for sure. He's had a hell of a year. He's
Hmm.
won a lot of times. I think it's maybe up to 3 or 4. I'm not even 100% sure.
Yeah, I think so.
He's won quite a bit, and he's still young. He's still like people forget that Hendrick team. I'm pretty certain that Kyle Larson is the oldest, and he's like 28, 29, somewhere around in there. So
Yeah.
that team is super, super young and super talented. And William Byron is definitely like outshined a lot of the Hendrick guys. And that's hard to do when you're talking Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott. I mean, those are guys that are dominant, and
Hmm.
William Byron is knocking on their door.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say he's got to be the favorite. I mean, to win the whole thing, I'm sure. So, um, yeah, I've seen a lot of him, a lot of races that he's won. So, and he's good. So that's good to see out of a young team like that. I know they're a high name team, obviously, but to kind of see the other guy or the last guy, I guess, start to get in his own that that could be a lot of years of dominance for that team. So, um, and then like random questions, more so, or maybe just one. Um, of NASCAR drivers, like who is your favorite? Like,
So I will be honest, when I was a kid, Kyle Busch was my favorite. I watched him like from the start in 2005. And so I kind of followed him along his entire journey. Um, he's a hell of a talent. He's a hell of a driver. He holds a lot of records. And he's gonna definitely be a Hall of Famer. He's not so much my favorite anymore. I think a little bit of his attitude is just recently I've been like, yeah, okay, shut up. Not to take anything away from him or anything like that, but I and again, I say that, and then I'm gonna go into this, which is kind of funny, but I like Denny Hamlin. Not because of like his driving skills or whatever. I like that he kind of challenges NASCAR. Like
hmm
he doesn't hold back. He doesn't really care what he says per se. Because he wants to challenge them and he wants to make them kind of better and like think about what they're doing and whatever. Like he's got his own podcast now, and he's always like, challenging what like rulings happen. He's challenging like like I think his like innovation mindset, I mean, is kind of what NASCAR needs to continue to grow and appeal to new people. I think he's challenging them for the better, and a lot of people would disagree with me because
hmm
he is not very popular among a lot of people. But I like him, and obviously can't go wrong with somebody that is connected to Michael Jordan.
I agree. I agree. He's my favorite just because of that point. There for a while, he was the only one sponsored by Jordan. Now, obviously, him and Jordan have a team together, so obviously their main sponsor is Jordan as well. But I like how you said that he kind of questions the authority, which you have to do very gently. Um, you have to kind of watch yourself, but he is also one that NASCAR can't afford to lose. So he's going to get away with a lot more things than like someone say like Ty Gibbs, even though his grandfather's an owner. Like he's a rookie in a sense. So you can't come in and just start barking orders or complaining. So Denny Hamlin, he's been in the sport long enough and he's respected enough and won enough races. He hasn't won the main thing, but he has enough kind of fluff and arrogance that is good for the sport. And like you said, I personally think NASCAR has been a dying sport for quite a few years now. Um, and I think the new car was a thing to bring people in. The all like the I guess the show. I mean, because I think most of your NASCAR things they come with like a pre-show. Some have like concerts. Some have this. Some have that. So it's getting people to come to the sport, which isn't isn't a good look like for your sport. You know you're kind of losing views, and this time of year you shouldn't be losing views now. There's nothing else on Sunday than NASCAR, so they should be doing okay this time of year. It's just how do you compete with the other top sports, and you're not gonna. Um,
I think
and it's
NASCAR is one that if you followed it, you're gonna stick with it. Like the fans
correct.
that have followed it are devoted to it.
Hmm.
Um, they need to find out how to pull new fans.
Yep.
And all sports go through that like period of
Oh
where we
yeah.
need to, pull new fans.
Hmm.
And I know you don't like me to talk about this because it was like a big ordeal, but like this year with the NFL was kind of like one of those things like Taylor Swift, came in to watch Travis, and that pulled in like this new group of like daughters and moms
Hmm.
and the Swifties that have never watched football in their life are now watching because Taylor's there. And say what you want about it, but the NFL profited off that. They got a whole new fan base. And so I think every sport, and NASCAR included, has to be a little inventive in their process to figure out how to appeal to some new fans, some new audiences. And honestly, Jordan coming in helped that a lot. That
Oh yeah.
that that opened the gate a lot for a lot of people and a lot of his connections. And so I think every sport goes through that. I think NASCAR has the tougher time because I'll be honest with you, I've watched NASCAR my entire life. In some races, I'm like, oh my God, is this race over yet? It's so long. And it
Hmm.
is. It is. But that's what
Sure.
it is.
Yeah. I So that I mean, you bring up good points. You watch NASCAR because you always have. Your family's a big race family. Um, we did not. Like I knew what was going on in the sport just because if you watch ESPN, you're gonna see highlights of it. So I know the guys. I know Dale Earnhardt. I know Jeff Gordon. I know Jimmy Johnson. I know all these guys because you see them on Sports Center. And even now, like you'd see them on Sports Center. They at least get a clip. Um, Watching it every week I don't know if I could do it, because we flip back and forth, and thank God for that. Because and actually, I don't know if we will now because there's nothing else on other than golf. That might be the saving grace. But as a new fan, I would say, um, it is hard to watch every week for 4 hours, 5 hours of them doing the same thing. However, I do not think kind of like how baseball. I'm a huge baseball fan. People think baseball's a long game. I do not think they should speed up NASCAR like they are trying to do with baseball. Um, there's no reason. I mean, if I were to go, I'll go to a NASCAR race. Eventually, we will go, and I want that to last as long as possible because I'm paying for it. Like, there's certain things that should just last the way they do. Um, and like you said with football, the Taylor Swift thing, which is very annoying, um, brought I'm not going to say brought new fans to football because I don't think it did. It brought fans to just see a glimpse of her. I don't know as they cared about watching the game, to tell you the truth, which is fine because I'm not a huge football guy either. It's fine. It is what it is. But it does bring more viewership. It does bring new eyes on the scene, and you never know. You might retain, even if you retain 25% of it. So in other words, Taylor Swift has to date a NASCAR racer. She has to go to every sport whenever they're down, and there you go, or someone popular. Um, but like you said, Michael Jordan's in it. That brought a lot of new fans, a fan base from basketball in because they're interested in him, like me. Like when I found out Denny Hamlin was Jordan sponsored, okay, well, I like him. He's cool, and now he has a team. So I like that. In ending of it, this season so far, what's the best moment? I have mine, so I'm going to go first. My best moment,
Ours may be the same.
it probably is. My favorite thing in NASCAR is when they get mad at each other and try and fight each other with their helmets on. That's my favorite thing. I think it's the most dumb thing they could do. However, this year there were no helmets on, and Ricky Steinhaus popped Kyle Busch, which I love. Anybody that goes up to him, you know what? He deserves it. I don't care. He deserved it in that race. He deserved everything he got. So that was my favorite, and they profited. I think they profited off of it hugely.
So that was my most like memorable for sure by far. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Um and but I had a problem with it. I had a major problem with NASCAR. Like I had beef with NASCAR after this because they posted it all over their social channels. All over their social channels.
Mm-hmm.
Like got views off of it, got hits off of it, all of this, and then the next day they're like, we're gonna fine you $75,000. Like,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me? Like, you just posted it because we don't they said a sentence that really got me, but it was basically like, we don't promote violence or like disagreements or whatever. And I'm like, you literally just promoted it. You
Mm-hmm.
literally put it on your social media channels for everyone to see. And then you're going to fine this guy $75,000 because it's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, like if they hadn't used that video over and over and over again, they hadn't posted it at all. Obviously, people are going to post it, but if
Yes.
NASCAR themselves haven't didn't post it and then find him, okay, cool. Like that's against the rules. We stand by that. But the fact that you posted it and got all these views and then told the guy it wasn't okay, I didn't like that at all. Like I will be firm on that no, that's not okay in my book. I think that they did Ricky Steinhaus Jr. wrong on that. Because if you're gonna use it to promote your business, then don't fine me for it.
I agree. I agree. And they're still using it. We watched it last week, and
Yeah,
it's in the promo of a NASCAR race.
yeah.
Like, okay, I get you're wanting views, but you got to be real careful of what you do in and you just find him. Well, why not Kyle Busch? Like, there's two people involved, and it's usually it's the retaliator that gets more so. So Bush and his group should have got more than what Stenhouse did. But I mean, Stenhouse deserved that. And it's kind of funny. All other sports there'd be suspensions, yet neither driver faced a suspension, which
I know the crew chief did.
I do not like. I This is a topic for a different time, but I do not like some of NASCAR's rules and things they do to like protect the drivers when it's the driver's fault. Like the crew chief had nothing to do with any of that. Like it wasn't his fault. Like crew chief wasn't down there swinging punches into a guy's face. So let's get real a little bit, NASCAR, because it is the driver's fault. Like we can punish drivers. That's perfectly fine. Just like athletes, we punish athletes. We punish PED users. We punish people who get in fights in baseball, basketball, hockey. You can fight in. You still get a penalty, but you can fight in. So, speaking of fighting, we go into our other subject of the day, and the WWE, which I am not. Again, I know names, but I do not watch with intent. Or, I mean, when it's on TV, obviously I'm watching it, but I'm not really paying attention. So this one's going to be probably more so a lot of you. But we have some notes here of what's coming up. It's called Money in the Bank, which you can kind of explain what it's all about, the Money in the Bank part.
So, Money in the Bank is one of their pay per views, and what happens is they have two matches where they have a women's and a men's match, where basically your end goal is to be the first one to climb the ladder and unlock the briefcase from the top of the ring. What that gets you is a chance to cash in that contract for a championship match at any point in time. So a lot of times we'll see like at the end of WrestleMania when these two people have like fought each other to the death or whatever, they'll cash in. So
Sure.
basically it's your way to a championship. Now we are recording before
Hmm.
Friday Night SmackDown. We're recording June 28th, which is before Friday Night SmackDown, and there's still some qualifying matches to happen. So we don't have the full field of the women's Money in the Bank or the men's Money in the Bank set. So obviously, like our predictions could change before it gets here. But that's basically the gist of it. There's also other matches involved that aren't the Money in the Bank matches, but those are the two kind of like main matches.
Okay. All right. So starting with the ones that aren't the main, because those are probably set mostly, I would assume,
Yes, yeah.
right? So we have there's what is it? Sami Zayn
Mhm.
and is it Braun
Braun
Breaker or
Breaker. Hmm.
Braun Strowman? Okay.
Braun Breaker.
So those me just watching, I do know these names. So I would make my
And
prediction, and
that's
I would
for the title.
for which title?
Sammy's title, the Intercontinental Championship.
Intercontinental.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna say Braun probably takes it
Hmm.
from him because he's a beast. Like
Hmm.
both Brauns in the WWE are monsters. First, the other one is a monster, but this one he's a beast. So I'd probably pick him over Sami Zayn.
So I definitely think that Braun Breaker hasn't been really in the mains for a while now. I mean, he got drafted up back when they did the draft after WrestleMania, but he has really impressed and made a name for himself for the short time that he's been in the mains. And I do think that he wins this title off of Sammy. Sammy, don't I like Sammy? But I think it's Braun's time. And I
Mhm.
also think there's a deeper storyline with Braun Breaker because recently on Raw, we have seen him go against Kaiser and Sheamus. And I think ultimately the end of that is going to be the three of them if Kaiser's not hurt, because there was some speculation that he was hurt this after this past Monday night's Raw. We haven't got anything on that. But I think the ultimate match at SummerSlam is going, which is the next pay per view, is going to be Braun, Sheamus, and Kaiser for the title.
Okay. Okay. The next one, it looks like a big tag team match. If I reading
So
this
it's the
right?
six-man tag team match. It's the new bloodline versus Cody, Randy, and Kevin Owens. And
Okay.
I have a little bit of a prediction for this one that I shared earlier on my sports social media thing. So tonight, the new bloodline, which is Solo, Jacob, I'm go drawing a blank and I know their names, but all of the cousins, all of the younger cousins, it's the new bloodline. Solo is now the leader. He is now, the tribal chief, which was Roman's title, and then he's been out for a little while. Um, but tonight they are having a new bloodline ceremony, and tonight's SmackDown is at Madison Square Garden, which we know is a big, big event
Yes, it is.
space. So I think because if you look at the Money in the Bank picture, you have the four cousins, Solo, Jacob, and then the two others. and I don't know why I'm blanking on their names because I know them every week. I tell them to you every week, but I'm blanking on their names. But you have the four of them, and then you have Cody and Randy and Kevin Owens on the other side. So what do you see here? There's four on one side and three on the other.
Mm-hmm.
So they need another person per se, or one of the bloodline members is going to sit out. But what I think is going to happen is I think Jimmy Uso is going to come back tonight and interrupt the ceremony, and he's going to join Team Cody, I'm going to call it. Because we saw that after Jimmy lost to his brother Jay, the bloodline pretty much kicked him out, and he's been gone ever since. He's been hurt. So he has a little bit of a vendetta against Solo and his cousins, and I think tonight he's gonna come back. I just have that feeling that tonight's the night that he's gonna come back, with it being in such a big place, and
Mm-hmm.
with this coming up, and we have the four versus the three. Now, some people did make the point, and I had honestly forgot about this, but Jacob has some prior charges that are all resolved. They happened when he was 18, so they happened a long time ago. But Canada's very strict about letting you cross the border if you have charges.
Oh,
We've seen that, like the Usos, they had to get like a special waiver because they had DUI charges. So they did say that maybe Jacob
huh.
couldn't go because of those charges. So then that would make sense for a six-man tag match. But I think there's a bigger story here. I think Jimmy's gonna come back because this is gonna set up the new bloodline versus the old bloodline down the road.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know. It makes sense. I didn't know Canada had such a strict thing. That's kind of weird. Um, so you think Cody and them win then to beat them?
I'm undecided. This is the only match that I'm undecided because it could be such a deep storyline. And we've seen Triple H recently because he is kind of like the head of it now, pretty much. We've seen him like really, really engaged with storylines. So I almost think that there's going to be some more interruptions, and when we actually get to Money in the Bank, and I think it's going to set up for a storyline down the road. But I'm undecided on this one, honestly.
Okay. I'd bet the new one still wins. The new bloodline wins. Just because that'd be a really quick storyline. It wouldn't be enough. So they need to win. And maybe, like, if yours comes together, maybe Jay comes out from the back afterwards and, like, defends them. And then they meet up and blah, 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 blah. Then the other one is, uh, I don't know his last name, the Damien dude,
Damian Priest.
Priest. And then Seth Rollins, which that's for the title too, right? The heavyweight, the big
Yep.
one.
So it's for Damian's title, and there's an extra stipulation. If Seth loses, he can no longer challenge for that title as long as Damian holds it.
Mm-hmm.
And if Damian loses, he has to leave the Judgment Day.
Mm. I would bet Seth wins this because I bet Judgment Day's coming to an end with Rhea being out so long.
So
That makes sense.
I think Seth's gonna win. Number one, because he kind of lost the title because he was hurt per se.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Seth wins, and I think that Damian leaves the Judgment Day. But in reality, I think the Judgment Day splits. I think we've seen a lot because we've seen a lot of the Liv, Dom, Finn, JD storyline, and Rhea, they said, is pretty close to returning. So I think either we're gonna have a Damian, Rhea, Dom versus a Liv, JD, Finn, or I think it's going to be just Dom and Rhea, and the rest of them are gonna go to Liv. What I could also see happening here, which would make it really interesting, but I don't think so. I think when they bring Seth back that quick, he's winning and he's going on for that. But what I could see happening is Damian wins, and then the bloodline attacks him kind of like they did Edge when he was the leader.
Mhm.
Because he has been very kind of like the father figure, like very disciplined, like, kind of on everybody's case. So I
Mhm.
could see them getting sick of that. He's not been the biggest fan of Liv, but Liv's helped them out. She just got Finn and JD the tag titles. And so I think there's a deeper storyline here. Triple H is all about the storyline, but ultimately, I think that this is leading towards like a new Judgment Day versus the old Judgment Day type style.
Yeah, that would make sense. That makes sense. I kind of like Seth Rollins, so I'd probably pick him anyway. So now with the two mains, I know we don't know who's in it. We don't know anything, so we're gonna go off what we're based with. The women's, who's the winner? Do you think who wins this?
So, she hasn't even qualified yet. I don't think. I think she's tonight. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure she's tonight. My winner is Naomi because I think there's going to be a storyline of Naomi and Bailey. We've seen them fight together. They're really good friends. And so I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, okay, Naomi wins and she's going to go against Liv because she's too good of friends with Bailey and she's going to end up turning on Bailey. That's what I think is going to happen. However, I will say my sleeper pick, and she hasn't qualified either. She's tonight, and I'm kind of iffy on her because she goes against Jade, who's a freaking beast, and I love her. But I think Tiffany could definitely be a sleeper pick for Money in the Bank. She's impressed a lot recently, and I think she could do it. I have a little bit of a feeling that Nia Jax could, because her and Nia are super close and have been together a lot. I think Nia could interfere in that match and get Tiffany the win.
Okay, that makes sense. And there's probably a reason Tiff has also impressed other people as well. So there's that possibility too. So um, I don't know who's in it. So is it who's in it right now?
So right now we have Io Sky, Chelsea Green, and I know there's one more. Hang on, I got it. Lyra Valkyra.
Oh yeah, we saw that earlier this week. So
Yeah.
well, that makes sense. Um, if it's up to me, well, in that I would say if that Jade gets in, Jade's getting it because she's a monster. She's very impressive. Um, so off to the men's then. First off, who's in the men's that we know
So
right now?
currently it's Jey Uso, Chad Gable, Andrade, and Carmelo Hayes.
Okay, and how many get in?
6. So there's
6.
2 more to qualify.
Okay, so who do you think wins? Well, of the ones tonight, who gets in? Who's the two that get in?
So there's one match tonight, and it is Logan Paul, LA
Oh,
Knight, and Santos Escobar. Now I think that Santos Escobar wins only because LA Knight and Logan Paul are going to face each other. They've had their storyline going. So I don't think they're going to break that up for Money in the Bank purposes because they've had that storyline accumulating. They've been going back and forth for weeks now. They're going to face for the title. That's actually a match that I left off, but they're facing for the title. And so I don't think either one of them win and do both the Money in the Bank and the title.
right.
So I think Santos Escobar wins tonight. Ultimately, I think Jey Uso is kind of a lock for this one. I will say I'd be very, very shocked if he did not win this at all. Like, I would be super shocked if he did not win this.
All right. So since you said Logan Paul's in it, he's probably my favorite. Like Logan Paul, hate him or love him, he's very impressive in this, and he's holding the belt right now. Is it the USA one? I'm assuming. US.
He's the longest champion right now because he's the only one that hasn't changed recently.
Okay, so I would have a theory on that. So if they're fighting at this, him and
Mhm.
LA Knight are. So he's gonna get into the Money in the Bank one, tonight. He qualifies for it. He loses the belt and then wins the Money in the Bank match and goes for the main title. Because I know Jay's Jay, and it's probably right. He's going to win, but I'm going to take the outlier storyline and do that. And Logan's going to win money because he'd be the perfect Money in the Bank guy because he'd cash it in on something easy and get a title and hold it, you know. So I'd go with that storyline. So that'll be interesting. Either way, I would bet he loses his belt this because
The
LA
LA
Knight's
Knight.
kind of popular. So
Mhm.
I would bet he loses this one or that
So
one.
my sleeper pick for the men's, and this is kind of a stretch because I don't think it's going to happen. But my sleeper pick is Chad Gable. He's gotten a big push lately. A lot of people think that his in-ring skills, he should definitely get an individual run. However, we've seen the Wyatt Six um, lately kind of like torturing him. So I think they're going to appear and ruin that for him. But he would be my sleeper pick out of all of them. As far as LA Knight and Logan go, I'm really torn on this because LA Knight has had like a hell of a run recently. He's super popular. He's good on the mic. He's good in the ring, but so is Logan. And
Mm-hmm.
he makes a really good heel because people don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
And so they always say like whether you're getting cheers or boos, you're doing something right. Like the crowd's into you and they're entertained by you,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's good or bad. And so I'm not 100% sure that Logan loses his belt. That there, I think there could be a lot more storylines available for him. But it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me because LA Knight has been a hot star recently.
Yeah, yeah, I would figure that. And I would almost bet I still think Logan Paul has a boxing match coming up. So that's why I could see him losing it because he's gonna stop training for the WWE and start going on that, I think. And actually it might be against his brother. I think they're trying to do that. So he's
That's what
definitely
they
gonna
wanted to
train for
replace
that.
the Mike Tyson one with.
Right, which would be
Yeah.
awesome. That would
Yeah.
sell like crazy. Um So that's really Money in the Bank.
Hmm.
That's WWE. Again, probably won't be a staple on our show, but whenever Mandy's involved, it might come up every now and then. So who's like your favorite wrestler now? Like, so do like women's, I guess, because there is a
Okay.
women's and a men's division.
So, favorite women's wrestler is Liv Morgan.
Hmm, she's pretty cool. She's cool. And then men's.
Favorite men's is it's a little tougher. I really like Seth Rollins. I think his like determination for the company is really unmatched. Um, and but I also respect Roman Reigns a lot. I think he's one of the greatest of all time, honestly.
Hmm.
Just the matches he's had, the people that he's pushed, he's I mean, the tribal chief name really kind of fits him because he's really become that. Um, so either one of those two, and I'm a Shield fan, which was those two. John Moxley, loved them. Think that was one of the best factions that's ever happened besides DX. So I would definitely be on the two of them side.
Okay. All right. Disclaimer: I think Roman Reigns had the best music in WWE and entrance, so that would make sense. Um, I liked Roman Reigns. I didn't mind him. I do like Seth Rollins, but I'd probably say my favorite is Randy Orton because he has the most popular finishing move ever in the RKO. That is through any like male mind to go up and do that to your best friend. So
And so I have to
um,
tell you, they have a little series right now on their like WWE like social medias or whatever, where Tomas Champa is like trying to secretly RKO Randy Orton, and it's like the worst fails in the world, and it's really comical. So
oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Um, so yeah, that'd be the WWE in a
What
nutshell
about
as of
women?
now. Me? Um, now probably I don't know. I I like oh, what's her name? I like Charlotte Flair. She's really good. And she's a legacy type person. As far as I know she's hurt right now, but as far as I actually don't mind the new girl, that Jade girl. I
Jade.
yeah, she's a powerhouse. If you ever like people watching this or hearing this, if you ever just look her up, she is like an athlete. I mean, I'm not again, it's hard for me to watch like it is a sport, I understand, but it's a rigged sport. So it's got storylines. It's athletes acting, but they're still athletes, and a lot of them show that now. A lot before the women's division was really kind of, and this might sound bad, but it wasn't about your athleticism, about how you looked more so. And now it's they don't get me wrong, they're not ugly people by any means, but they are physically impressive. A lot of them. So, which is cool. That's cool to see. Even like you know, Nia Jax is a monster. Like, I would believe she's 6 foot or over 6 foot, and she's and she's athletic. Like all these, the WWE has gotten very athletic since they started. Um, and again, that's a new generation coming in, so that makes sense. But um, it is entertaining. Some of the storylines are entertaining. Some of them get annoying, like the Judgment Day and all this, like Rhea and Liv Morgan. It's kind of annoying
Oh,
to
I
me.
love the Liv and Dom
No,
storyline.
no, it's annoying.
No, I love it.
It's like, all right, but you've drove it into the ground now. Now it's getting old. Like now it's time to move on from it. So,
It's time for
which they
Dom to
might be,
fold, as they say.
which they might be. Um, well, no offense, it would make sense why you would. So, um, that's fun. I do like actually my favorite wrestler because he is technically a wrestler and he's gotten in the ring is Pat McAfee. So
I love
that would
Pat.
be my favorite wrestler, and he is definitely my favorite announcer of all time.
Yeah,
Not
Pat
even
McAfee
close.
is great on anything,
Yes, yes, he
anything.
is. So that was fun. It was a little different. We'll see if there's a segment later on when we add it. I know me and Ethan, we always used to play the WWE video game back in the day, and it was a lot of fun. Um, might might have been for the old school bra and panty matches, but we won't discuss that right now. Um, so again, thanks for listening to the show. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and then follow us on TikTok. Peace.